everybody, welcome back. Looking at the Sunday NBA slate starting in a few hours. So go through the picks a little bit quickly today. But let's get started. As always, appreciate you guys to the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get started here. Looking at point guard options, we have some injuries on the Pistons. Delon Wright's going to miss a few weeks. D'Angelo Russell is still out. And then some of the Magic players still been out for a while. Cole Anthony, Gordon, they're not going to be returning. Holiday is still out. Ben Simmons probable, Kyle Lowry doubtful. So those are the main pieces at this position. We have James Harden, $10,600 against this Clippers team. Clippers got back Paul George and Kawhi Leonard the other day. Harden's been playing a lot better since Kyrie Irving gave him the rings to the point guard position. He is still playing without Durant, so I think he's a fine spend up today. I like him more than Trae Young going up against Denver. Ben Simmons, hopefully he plays today. He was probable last time and then he sat out, but I think he'll be back today. Not a guy I'm really looking at 9,200 with the way Embiid's been playing. Jamal Murray's price tag has kind of skyrocketed up to 86. I'd rather go Kyrie Irving at 87. Going with Murray, who had 50 points last game, had his career high 50 points. Looked really good. Him and Embiid both scored 50 the same day, but I don't think I want to chase that. And price tag is almost at 9,000. Van Fleet shot just 4 of 20. Lowry is doubtful, so definitely a spot to bounce back. Sixers are a pretty good defense, but we've seen some guards score the ball against them at a pretty high clip with Clarkson, Booker recently, and Van Fleet's going to be able to take a ton of shots. So he's a guy that even though he only made 4 field goals, still got it done. Didn't kill you with 34 fantasy points. Could have been a lot better had he made even 40% of his shots. So I think he's a fine option. I'm only at 8,200. It looks to be one of the better options in the 8K range. Now, De'Aaron Fox is only $7,700. Super cheap. His price tag has come all the way down. It was over 9. It was right at 9,000. He's been in the mid 8K range, so we're getting him at only $7,700. Did play 40 minutes yesterday on a back-to-back, but Fox has been not the best recently. The Kings have kind of started to lose some games, but I think his price tag is just getting to a point where you probably want to take a shot, especially with how fast Milwaukee plays. Should be a spot where Fox can go up and down the court. And then we have a couple guys I'm not that interested in. Colin Sexton, Lou Williams. Halliburton is going to be dependent on some of the other injury news on the Kings, but he's not a core piece at 6,300. Have some value at this position with Maledon at 4,500. And one of the bigger value pieces is Dennis Smith Jr. We also have Jordan McLaughlin's price tag is 41. He was solid last game. Price tag is now over 4,000 though. So I'd rather go to Dennis Smith without Delon Wright. Should see minutes right around 30 minutes, I would say. He was pretty bad, except for some of the peripherals. He got 6 stocks, but shot 0 of 7. He's not much of a shooter, but he's going to get a lot of playing time without Delon Wright, and it's a good spot against Orlando. Their defense has really been garbage. So I don't mind taking a shot. I mean, can't do much worse than 0 of 7. At shooting guard, it's at the top, it's Paul George, Kyrie. Paul George made his return, only played 26 minutes. They said he was on a minutes limit. See if that hasn't changed or not today. If that hasn't, he's still at a high enough price tag where I don't think I need to play him. I like Kyrie. I like Van Vliet. I like Van Fleet a little bit more than SGA, but he's still in play here. And that Middleton's been struggling even without Holiday. 78, so looks all right, but he's not been really doing anything. I've been playing him. Powell's been amazing since the 2 games Lowry's missed, 48 and 44, scoring the ball at a really high clip, playing huge minutes. Even though he's almost $7,000, I think he's still going to be the third guy on the Raptors that. You can't even go bump up into the second spot if Van Fleet's struggling shooting again. But he's still one of the pieces that Toronto's going to give a bunch of minutes to without Lowry, and he looks good just because he's going to shoot a lot, and he has been making a lot of his shots this season. And Terrence Ross' price tag has really jumped up to 68. That's not a price tag I'm really looking at. Beasley looks all right. I'd rather go to Edwards, 59. Beasley looks decent still without D'Angelo Russell, and then don't have much interest in Lou Williams, Halliburton, but Hield, if they're missing Barnes again, looks okay. I do like Edwards a bit. He's only $5,900. Had that unbelievable dunk against the Raptors against Yuta Watanabe last game. He's been struggling with his shot 2 games in a row, 3 of 14 and 3 of 15. He can't, he's a guy that on the season is still shooting under 40%, but he has been pretty bad the last few. But before that, he was shooting the ball pretty well. I think it's just a matter of time before he kind of goes back to shooting over 40%. I mean, it's just one of those games. A couple of games, just shots weren't falling. Couple of tougher defenses against the Pacers and Raptors. Knicks are a good defense, but that's mainly just because they play super slow. Timberwolves like to push the pace, so this game should play at a much faster pace than the Knicks are used to. And I do think Edwards is. I like the fact that he's taking a lot of shots. He's playing big minutes now, like 34, 35. Really good sign. I just feel like 59 for a guy that does give you 40, 50-point ceiling is worth a shot against the Knicks. And then we have, like, Josh Jackson is going to get more playing time without DeLon Wright. He looks all right. I'd rather go to Dennis Smith, but I think Jackson's in play. And then back to shooting guard. We have some cheap plays here with a couple of cheap plays I don't think will be that interesting. But Joseph, if they're still without Barnes and Robinson and Holmes, we'll start again and see some good minutes today. But then you also have Bryn Forbes. It's only 3,800. He's not. He's just mainly going to score the ball. He's not going to do much of anything else. So I'll feel good about going Edwards 59. I think I'll stay in this mid-range here. Small forward at the top, it's Kawhi at 95. He made his return, and he only wasn't even limited. They said he was going to be on a limit, but he wasn't limited at all. Played 38 minutes against the Jazz. He came out with the win. Looks fine. It's going to be a spot where they should be able to put up some points. Nets defense really bad. 95 for Kawhi. Never really liked playing him when George is in there as well. So he's not at the top of my list, but he's still in play against this type of matchup. He looks better than Ben Simmons. And then if I had to pick between Middleton or Grant, I think I'd lean to Grant just because even though his shots haven't been falling some of these games recently, he's taken like 20 shots, 25 shots. He gives you a ton of usage, and he does give you a big-time ceiling as well. It's a good spot against Orlando, so I feel like Grant's on the verge of having a big game. I like Norman Powell still at 6,900. He's been playing great and been working out last 2 times we played him. Then you have Cedi Osman as a value play at 5,500. Just because they're still without Prince, so his minutes should be north of at least 25, potentially over 30 if this game is close. He looks like a decent option in the 5K range. You have Sadiq Bey in this range. You have RJ Barrett. Probably go Osman over the other two. And now for value, it's like Cam Reddish is 49. He's been playing better, but I think I'd still go with like Gallinari. It's 4,400. Comes off the bench, but he still sees mid-20s minutes. Shots, another guy who's been struggling with his shot, but he's also a guy that can get hot from the floor. And, instead of going 2 of 14, if he takes like 14, 15 shots again, makes like 6 or 7 of them, you're looking at high 20s, low 30s fantasy points at only 4,400. It's a spot and a price tag where I will probably get to just because he's a much better shooter than he's shown this season. Dealing with some injuries, kind of getting some up and down playing time, but his playing time has been steady. I think the shots and the efficiency will come very soon. And Denver is a mediocre defense. Nothing too scary about that matchup. So plug in Gallo at small forward. Power forward, it's Giannis at the top at 11,000. He's been playing just so much more minutes than we're used to than in the start of the season. The games have been a lot closer. Assists have been there every single game without Drew Holiday. The shots have been right around the paint. He even made a couple threes recently. He's a guy that we know what you're getting every single day. You're probably going to get 70 fantasy points. Price tag is 11,000. It's a great spot against Sacramento. So he looks like a great spend up if we get some more value on the slate. If not, I think you can go to like Jeremy Grant, Pascal Siakam, 2 guys in the 8K or in the 7K range that both give you 50-point ceilings. We have in the mid-range Cedi Osman, Michael Porter Jr., Bagley, depending on the injuries in Sacramento. And then for value, not a lot that looks that appealing at this position. So probably a spot where I'll at least spend up a little bit. And I think like Grant's the guy that I like, 7,600. At center, it's Center, you can play Giannis here, 11,000. You have Embiid coming off of his career high game where he put up 92 fantasy points. Unbelievable performance from Embiid. We have Jokic, Vooch, Towns' position is really loaded at the top. Lots of good plays in great spots. I like the price tag on Karl-Anthony Towns a lot at 95. And then I like Jokic, Vooch, and actually Jokic, Giannis, Vooch, and then Embiid. You can play Giannis over Jokic if you want to. But all of those guys look great. If you wanted to go cheaper here, you can play Siakam at center. You can play Plumlee at center, matching up against Vooch. Not a great defender. And then not a lot for value just because the position is pretty loaded at the top. So right now I like Siakam 79 if I'm not able to get all the way up for like a full on Embiid, Jokic, Giannis, Towns. I think Siakam still gives you a big time ceiling in this type of matchup without Kyle Lowry, assuming he sits. And then last but not least, like De'Aaron Fox, even though it's a back to back, I just like the spot against Milwaukee. They play fast. Should be a high scoring game here. And Fox is a guy that always gives you a huge like GPP score and a huge GP upside. Maybe his knee is still bothering him. He's not been the same explosive player, but maybe that can definitely change any given night. And he's still getting a lot of usage, still taking a lot of shots, which is what you want to see. Minutes are going to be there in close games, and this game can stay close without Holiday. And given how many close games the Bucks have been in, so these six right now are the guys I'm looking at on DraftKings. Go ahead and touch on FanDuel. All right, on FanDuel here, point guard options. Ben Simmons has jumped up to 9,600, and we have Trae Young. I like the price tag on Kyrie is only 88, so he's the guy that sticks out. Murray's price tag has really skyrocketed. He was 6,500 a couple games ago. Price tag now 83. Probably get to Kyrie over him, but if you think he's gonna stay hot, he's worth a shot just because he's a guy that can absolutely catch fire from shooting. Fox looks really good at 7,800. Price tag is dipped on Fox on both sides. And then for value, it's like the guy that I really like is still Dennis Smith at 46. So Delon Wright to leave the game in the fourth. We really like MCW here, but I think Smith gives you a little bit more upside. Minutes should be there for him today. Played 23 even with Wright playing 30. So I think he's in line for at least 30 minutes, possibly more. So he's a guy I would definitely get to at 4,600. Shooting guard, it's Harden looks great. You also have Paul George underpriced at 85. You have Van Fleet, looks good. Then we have SGA. I still will go Van Fleet over SGA. And then for value, you have Norman Powell is 65. He's been playing tremendous. We have Edwards 63. Probably go Powell over Edwards. And then Ross is 6,000, but I just don't think he'll be able to. He gives you some sort of ceiling, but I liked him when we knew he was going to play like 38 plus minutes when they were super thin. And Josh Jackson is in play at 51 without Delon Wright. Reddish is cheap, and that's mainly it. You can take a shot on like Ellington or Svi, but I don't want to go crazy with the Pistons. Probably go Norman Powell again, 65. He's just been playing big minutes, shoots the ball a lot, and he definitely gives you a big time upside at this price tag. In small forward, it's Kawhi and Pascal as the two pay up options. Both look great. I like Pascal possibly a little bit more. Then we have Middleton, only guy in the 7K range. He looks alright, but haven't been getting to him. I don't think that will really change. You have Beasley, pretty cheap, 65. He looks good on FanDuel. We have Porter, looks fine at 57. Barrett. I like Chetty Osman at 54 just because he's going to be playing a lot bigger role. Last couple games without Prince, played well, even though he started off the game really bad. Last game, he kind of had a big second half, especially third quarter, which saved him for fantasy. And then, yeah, like Gallo is 46. James Ennis, whose minutes definitely, the Magic played like, I don't know, they played like 10 or 11 guys last game, which was pretty wild. I'll go with Chetty Osman, 54. Power forward, it's Giannis, 11-3. And then we get some value here with Randall, Jeremy Grant. And scrolling down in the 5K range, you have Bagley if they're still missing Holmes today. We don't have much interest in Noel, Portis, Ibaka now that Paul George and Kawhi are back. So probably a spot to maybe pay up a bit here. Position isn't super deep at the bottom. The Nuggets are without JaMychal Green today, so probably see Porter play a bigger role. Uh, so you can play Porter if you wanted to at small forward. Power forward here, I like Jeremy Grant 76. I think he looks like a good option. Go ahead and plug him in there. And then at center, we have Embiid 11,000, Jokic, Vooch, and then Cat. Karl-Anthony Towns only 93. Looks like he's on the verge of having a big game. Only played 30 minutes last game, was in some foul trouble, but he's been playing 35 plus. So he was definitely a guy I want to get to. Yeah, Plumlee looks fine, but he's almost 7,000. And then don't have much interest going super cheap here because at least on DraftKings you can play like Pascal at center. Don't really have that option here. And I feel like 2 out of these top 4 guys can absolutely break the slate. So based on price tag, based on matchup, I think I would go with Karl-Anthony Towns at 93. Just because he's pretty cheap. Like 50 DraftKings points will be more than enough at that price tag. Whereas if Embiid or Jokic get 50, that's definitely disappointing at their salaries. So these 5 are who I like. Still leaves you with almost like 65 plus left for the remaining spots. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. And best of luck tonight.